All right, we're looking at seizures of witnesses. The first case we're going to start off with, these are in order by date, not necessarily order by what's going on. So you'll have to forgive me. In Orozco versus the County of Yolo, it's in my backyard. Officers were serving a warrant on the Orozco residence. They were detaining people as the Summers case, the Supreme Court Summers case, allows them to do. And the crazy father went crazy and was barricading himself in a room. He shot and killed one of the cops. The other cops shot and killed him. Now, while it was probably fine and dandy like sour candy to detain the Orozcos at their residence while their residence was being searched, the police thought, you know what? You know what would be great? It'd be great if we took all these people down to the station and kept them overnight. And that was not reasonable. You can't do that. It was basically an arrest. It was a de facto arrest. Couldn't do it. That was wrong. Bad police. No cookie. Stone v. Holzberger. Stone v. Holzberger. The Stone is the witness. Holzberger was a sheriff. Stone was the lucky girlfriend of a murderer slash thief. She arranged to meet with Holzberger because she wanted to discuss what was going on. And Holzberger was asking her to do things she apparently wasn't comfortable with doing. She wanted to leave. Berger arrested her, and he kept her. He kept her for a while. She was going to get released on a own recognizance bond. I think it was the next day, and you'll have to forgive me because I don't exactly remember, but that's not really important. I think she was going to get released on her own recognizance the next day. And then he asked her to identify some cocaine container that had cocaine in it that was her boyfriend's. And she identified it. And so then Holzberger went back to the magistrate with this new evidence, and he got the own recognizance bond revoked. And he had a $50,000, I believe, ex parte bond issued. He had it issued ex parte and in camera, which means it was off the record. And ex parte means that the other party isn't there. And in camera, it means that it's off the record. And he didn't tell anybody about it. And so she got to sit there for like a week or something. 6 days? 19 days. 19 days. That's what it was. And this is back in 1994. The court said that that was no bueno. You can't do it. Now, the court didn't say that you can't get her and hold her and, make her get a bond or something to get out. They just said that you can't do it like that. That was dirty pool. That was unreasonable. Then we have Walker v. the City of Orem. I believe Walker v. the City of Orem, if I remember correctly, a young man took his sister's car, and he switched the plates on it, and he was driving it around, and he would call in from pay phones at gas stations, because this is back when they actually still had pay phones at gas stations. And he was telling his mom that he was going to kill himself. Well, somehow or some way, he was headed back to home, which was good, and cops are following him, and that's bad. I don't know why, but cops love to kill suicidal people. I probably shouldn't be as flippant about that. Too many times, suicidal people are killed by cops. How about that? It's an unfortunate thing. It's really hard to deal with someone who is armed and wanting to die and hoping that you'll take them out so they don't have to do it themselves. Tough situation. Anyway, the cops ended up killing him. He had a 2-inch knife held to his wrist, and for whatever reason, do not know, the cops shot him. And they killed him, and they held his family at the house, and the court held that it was no bueno. You can't do that. They were held for like 2 hours, and what they held basically was that the Supreme Court has never said. All these cases talk about this Supreme Court case, Lyndon v. Brown. God, I should have had it up, and I don't. So you'll get to question it. Lyndon, I think it is. Let's see if I could find it. Let's see if I'm right. No. Damn it. So anyway, while I'm searching for it, I'll tell you a little bit about it. It was where the police set up a information stop. Is this it? It was where the police set up an information stop. Let me see if that's it. 443 US 50. 47 sounds right. Nope, that's not it. That's Brown v. Texas. Poop sticks. And I mean that. So anyway, in Lyndon, they set up a information checkpoint. They stopped everybody, and they were trying to. They were asking people about information on something that was important was going on. Maybe it wasn't in this case. Maybe it was later. Lidster, Illinois v. Lidster. Yeah, so they were stopping people for information, and Lidster apparently they got him on something because if you're going through a checkpoint with cops, obviously you want to disclose bad things about yourself. But the court held that was fine. You know, you got to balance the gravity of the public concern served by the seizure, the degree to which the seizure advances the public interest, and the severity of the interference with the individual liberty. So it's a balancing test. You got to balance all those things. So the court basically said, in this case, this is obviously not a Supreme Court case, the court said that you got about 90 minutes. About 90 minutes. If you go past 90 minutes, you're screwed. Don't go past 90 minutes. You can detain it for 90 minutes, and then you gots to let them go or something like that. All right. Then we've got Gould v. City of Bossier City. This is a district court. This is Fifth Circuit. This is Louisiana. The Goulds were a husband and wife. Her sister-in-law, Mrs. Gould, was dying of cancer, and they went out to the city of Bossier City to help her brother-in-law deal with it, you know, and so they could be there for their sister. And anyway, so the sister was in the hospital, and the husband and the Goulds were chilling in the garage, I guess, drinking tequila, because that's what you do. And Mr. was his name? Walker? Texas Ranger. What was his name? The husband of the woman who was dying. I want his name. McDaniel. There we go. So McDaniel was feeling suicidal, apparently. He put on his military uniform and he's talking about killing himself. And again, they called the police. Police showed up and Mrs. Gola took them out to the garage where the party was happening. Mr. McDaniel saw the police and was like, "Oh, hell nah." And he dove for a shotgun, grabbed it, came up, pointed it at the officer. The officer let him have a lead sandwich, as you do when someone points a shotgun at you. Well, naturally, this pissed off the Golas. I mean, you know, they didn't want the police to come in and kill Mr. McDaniel. They really wanted the police to come in and save him from himself. Again, it's a tough situation. Anyway, the police were like, yeah, that kind of sucks. And Mr. Gould was like, "You son of a," and was acting belligerent. And I don't know if you remembered the tequila that he'd been drinking, but he was not a pleasant fella. Well, anyway, the police had to secure the scene, and so they took the Golas down to the station. Miss Gola was seemingly pretty mellow, but Mr. Gola was tequila. At some point in the evening, Mr. Gola took a chair and threw it through the mirror window thingy that they watch it through. And yeah, he decided he was going to make the great escape, even though he wasn't arrested. So then he was arrested because, well, it's stupid to try to escape from the middle of a police station. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. You let your lawyer figure it out. So, what Gola said was, you know, it's got to be reasonable. So, in this case, it was reasonable. As to Mrs. Gola, she never said she didn't want to go. She couldn't stay there at the home because it was a crime scene. Apparently, there was blood splatter all over their car because their car was in or around the garage, so they couldn't take the car. And they didn't have any place to go, so, you know, she went there willingly, and there's nothing to controvert that. Apparently, they could have charged Mr. Gola with obstructing the police because, you know, he was being belligerent and intoxicated at the scene of the shooting. They didn't do that, though. But he does recognize that he was intoxicated and belligerent, and it was reasonable for the police to hold him. So this is a win for the police. It was reasonable. Then there's Ashcroft v. AlKidd. We're in the Supreme Court. Ashcroft got a warrant for AlKidd. It wasn't a warrant for Mr. AlKidd to be arrested for being a criminal. It was a warrant to arrest AlKidd for being a material witness, and they wanted to keep his ass stateside. So, he got a warrant, and they threw AlKidd's butt in jail for a short period of time. If I remember correctly, it was 16 days. And then they released him on a bond for the next 14 months. But they never called him. And he was like, "Yo, dog, this sucked balls. I was stuck here in the U.S. when I wanted to go back to my sand castle. And you guys suck. And I want money." And the Supreme Court was like, "Look, bro, it was a warrant. So, no, it was a warrant and it was reasonable. And no, you got to stay here. It doesn't matter what Ashcroft's intent was. He got a warrant. If you get a warrant, it's pretty much game over, man. Game over." And they said basically that it was fine. It wasn't a Fourth Amendment violation at all to have the warrant to make him stay in the country. Schneider, they got this gal. I think it was a gal. It was a gal. Yeah, they got a It was a gal. Yeah, Nicole. They got Nicole. She was going to be a material witness, and she was like, "Oh, hell no!" And so they're having trouble finding her. But so the DA or assistant DA got a warrant, as you're wont to do, and so they arrested Ms. Schneider. And what the holding of this case was, and she didn't get a bond because they found that she was too big of a flight risk or whatever. And so she was in the clink, and the trial date got moved. Now, they were kind of expecting that she'd be in the clink for about 16-ish days. 6 to 16, somewhere in that kind of range. Anyway, she was in there for 54. And the court was like, hey, look, it's already been, we know this. Ashcroft v. AlKidd laid it out. It's fine if you get the warrant, but it's got to be reasonable. It's not based on probable cause because there's no probable cause you committed a crime. It's just, it's back to the reasonable standard of the Fourth Amendment. And 16 days, that's reasonable. 54, not so much. So, yeah. So this one, we figured out that 54 days is probably not going to fly, at least in the Third Circuit. Frakes. Okay, so Frakes, I think that was he's like some dentist or veterinarian or something, and he owns this particular piece of property, and as luck would have it, it's like right on a corner where every time it rains, people wipe out and crash onto his property. And he enjoys that. And when I say he enjoys it, I am actually being sarcastic. So if you missed that, he actually doesn't enjoy it. So anyway, the last time it happened, he shows up at the scene of the accident with his shotgun and a camera. Now there's a cop there in the fire department. The cop's like, whoa, bro, what's with the shotgun? And he's like, it's my land and I can carry a shotgun if I want to. And the cop's like, no, you got to put the shotgun down. And Frakes like, it's my land. And the cop's like, no, dude, I'm a cop. I can and will shoot you. So please put the shotgun down. And Frakes is like, you're an ass, but fine. So he puts the shotgun down. And he starts taking pictures because, he's pissed. He wants these pictures for his insurance. And basically he's getting all up in the crime scene or the accident scene. He's getting in everybody's way. And another cop showed up because the cop who was there was like, hello, dispatch. There's a really mad guy here with a shotgun. So another cop showed up, and the cop who was there, his name was Ott. And he's like, hey, Madsen, I think was the guy who showed up. Anyway, so Ott was like, hey, Madsen, that guy is the guy with the gun. And Madsen was like, sweet. So he goes over and he's like, I'm going to detain you. Investigatory detention. Woo, woo, woo. And he pats him down. He finds shotgun shells, which, stands to reason considering he had a shotgun. And he throws him in the back of the patrol car. And the cops discuss it, and they figure they could arrest him for interference, but they decided not to. And it was hot, and Frakes was mad. But they ended up finishing up their stuff, and they let him out. And the court was like, it was reasonable. This is Texas, by the way. It was reasonable. It wasn't that long. So Ott gets his immunity. And then you get Lincoln v. Turner. Yeah, it goes back to the reasonable thing. Then you get Lincoln v. Turner. This is again Fifth Circuit. I believe it's Tejas. I believe it was Texas. I'm going to say it was Texas. I don't remember. Yes, Texas, Northern District of Texas. Awesome. All right, so Lincoln, her dad went nuts because that apparently is a thing with these particular kinds of cases. His dad's going nuts, and he got a rifle or firearm of some sort, and he was doing the whole crazy thing. And the police showed up, as the police are wont to do. I guess somebody inside the house called the police, and then the SWAT team showed up. Because crazy guy with a gun. And the crazy guy with the gun kept going to the door, opening it up. He'd always have his daughter, Erin, who at the time was 18, at his side as a hostage. But she was also his daughter, so, you know, who knows what would have happened, what would have, could have, or should have happened. So he kept opening up the door and, like, shouting at the police, and then he'd close it. Well, he did that one time too many, and the police shot and killed him right next to his daughter. And she collapsed next to her dad because I'm sure just the whole ordeal was just terrible in every sense of the word. And the police grabbed her, threw her over. One of the cops grabbed her and threw her over his shoulder, put her in the back of a patrol car, handcuffed for 2 hours while they sorted everything out. Now, this is Texas. And the court was like, you know, that's balls. What you did was balls. You violated her Fourth Amendment rights. You can't do that. We figure that the 90 minutes that they came up with in those other cases, we figure that was pretty good. So now the Fifth Circuit is holding to that 90 minutes thing. You got 90 minutes to shit or get off the pot, and you can't detain people for longer than that. If they're just witnesses, you can't detain them for longer than that. Oh, but they tried to say that, you know, maybe she was, you know, interfering or something like that. But the court was like, no. You guys are being stupid. Just stop. So the court said the cops get qualified immunity on this one. But now you know. Now you know. You got 90 minutes to shit or get off the pot. Figure it out. You can't throw people in the back of a squad car for 2 hours. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, were the people held in Leon Valley for more than 90 minutes? I don't know. If they were, then that's bad. That's bad. Unless they were being held so the 90 minutes came from the Supreme Court case in one of these, whichever one came up with the 90 minutes. They cited the Supreme Court, the Terry kind of standard. You get about 90 minutes. And that came from a Supreme Court case. I don't remember which one. You'll have to sue me. Legal researcher, go. So even if it's just a straight up detention, the police probably had 90 minutes. Beyond that, they better have had probable cause for an arrest. So if you're looking for how to apply this to Leon Valley, it does not look good for the police if they held the witnesses longer than 90 minutes and didn't arrest them. So there's your analysis. I hope you found this entertaining and fun. If not, I hope you found it informative. And if not, well, leave a comment below and tell me what facts I screwed up, because I'm sure you will anyway. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.